At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Ready to make a real impact every day? Join the Active Day Home Care team and help clients maintain their independence in the comfort of their own homes. Make a difference in someone's life as you provide essential daily assistance and protect their health and happiness. Earn up to $20 an hour and enjoy additional perks like optional daily pay, 401k, paid time off, ongoing educational training, and more. Join a team that values care, compassion, and your professional growth. Visit activeday.com to apply.
VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And thank you for joining us today. Today marks the 6th day of Operation Rising Lion, an act of self-defense by Israel against the oppressive Iranian regime that has vowed to wipe Israel off the face of the earth time and time again. The U.S. Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, said, quote, Israel felt it needed to act in defense of their nation, and that's what they did. Israel National News reported that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a statement to the public that Israel is working to eliminate two major threats, the nuclear threat and the ballistic missile threat. Israel had to issue a warning to Iran to stop hitting civilians, or he said it will strike your infrastructure. President Trump has called upon Iran to unconditionally surrender. It's being reported that President Trump has mixed guidance coming from his advisors on whether to join in the targeting of the nuclear facilities or not. Joining us today with not only commentary on Operation Rising Lion, but also the prophetic implications, we welcome back Chris Katulka, who is Vice President of North American Ministries at the Friends of Israel Gospel Ministry and host of the Friends of Israel Today radio program. He's a Bible teacher, he's a writer for Israel My Glory magazine, and author of the book Israel Always. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Jim, thank you so much for letting me come on and share during this very, very difficult time for Israel.
And before we get into a number of specifics, I've got tons of questions here for you. I just like your overall comments on Operation Rising Lion. Was Israel justified in their attack on Iran?
You know, Israel has had this plan in place for more than a decade now. This isn't something that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pulled out of his back pocket a few days ago. This has been a strategy that goes back to the Obama administration. Really, the JCPOA, which is what we call the Iran deal that the Trump administration got us out of, was a response to Netanyahu wanting to go in and to take care of the nuclear enrichment that Iran was doing more than a decade ago. And as a result of what Netanyahu saw with the enrichment program, where they were going as a nation, getting to enrichments of over 60%, Netanyahu wanted to make sure that Iran could never reach that, so he had a plan in mind to attack Iran. But ultimately, Obama stepped in and put an end to that, and conjured up what is called the Iran deal, or the JCPOA, with several other Western countries to try to bring Iran to the negotiating table to see if they could unravel their nuclear ambition through talks. But the reality is this, is that as much as that Iran deal did the best that it could to try to quell the enrichment programs that Iran had in place, it really Iran couldn't be trusted. You know, you should always look at your neighbors and find out whether or not this is a good deal or a bad deal, because as Obama and the Western European nations were celebrating the Iran deal, the nations in the Middle East, the Saudis, the Gulf nations, were crying out, this is a horrible deal to make with Iran, especially Israel. In fact, President Trump essentially could thank President Obama for the Abraham Accords because Obama forced many of these Arab countries like Saudis, UAE, Bahrain, that are a part of the Abraham Accords, they forced Israel to enter into security negotiations against Iran because of the Iran deal. Well, here we are, 2 administrations later now, and the problem was never solved. And Iran continued to enrich its uranium. It actually abandoned the EU just because Trump dropped the Iran deal in his first administration. It actually still gave the EU and Iran still had deals, but Iran could care less about the EU, and eventually even the IAEA of the United Nations that oversees a lot of the atomic and nuclear ambitions of countries saw that Iran was breaking every rule in the book, and that's what's forced Netanyahu, along with several other factors that I think we'll talk about today, along with several other factors, to say we're going in and we're taking them out. Why? Because this has been a plan that Netanyahu has had for a very, very long time. We know this because Mossad, which is the equivalent of the CIA in Israel, have been in Iran for more than a year preparing for this moment. And so they had Israelis on the ground in Iran that were able to do the spying work, provide drone coverage for when those jets came in on June 13th. And so this Operation Rising Lions is really from the Bible. Actually, Benjamin Netanyahu, whoever named this, actually, if it was Netanyahu, pulls it from Numbers chapter 24, where it talks about a people that rises like lions, leaps up like the king of beasts. And so it was a preemptive attack. So the name of this particular operation, Rising Lion, comes from Numbers chapter 23, verse 24. And again, all this, Jim, is couched within Numbers chapter 23 and 24 is all the story of Balak and Balaam when they wanted to curse Israel. And what happened? Balaam couldn't help but bless Israel. He says, how can I curse what God has not cursed? And so there's that whole tension that goes back to Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, where I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. Well, a cursing is certainly coming upon a nation that's been cursing Israel for decades now. And so is something that's been in the works for a long time, and is finally, because of all of the right pieces being put in place, Jim, now is the opportune moment. And they even waited the 60 days for Trump to have those negotiations with the Ayatollahs. It didn't work out, and on the 61st day, that's when Israel went in to undo this nuclear ambition.
Chris Katulka with us here today from the Friends of Israel Gospel Ministry. Now, last Friday, friends, and we've been covering this daily, but last Friday, Pastor Jim Scudder was in Israel, going to the airport, got trapped there, but he has gotten out. He has found a way to get back here to the States, so thank you for praying for him. But Chris, I understand Friends of Israel has a team there right now.
Yeah, and it's not just a team. It's a team of young Christians, ages 18 to 28. For many years, for more than 15 years, we've been running a program called Origins, which means our resolve is giving Israel never-ending support. I used to lead it when I was younger here at Friends of Israel. And young adults would go over and we would do a missions program. We would do volunteer work and show and share the love of Jesus the Messiah. And so we had a team of about 10 young adults who were going over to partner with our local church plants and to get involved in the communities outside of Tel Aviv. And just as they land on Thursday, not a few hours goes by, a Friday comes around, they barely have time to unpack, and Israel did a preemptive strike. And since then, our young adults, 18 to 28-year-olds, have been under ballistic fire from Iran. You can imagine the kind of, I mean this, the kind of PTSD these young adults already have. I've been texting with them, making sure they're doing okay. And I just want to share about their resilience, these amazing young Christians with a heart to serve the Lord, with a heart to serve their Savior, with a heart to serve the Jewish people. They are actually volunteering during the day as they wait for their flight to take them home, hopefully in the next few days. And so they're actually at the hospital doing work as ballistic missiles are raining down on them from Iran. It's very difficult to sleep at night for both them and Israelis. That's when Iran attacks, is at night. So Israelis and our team over there are losing sleep. Those sirens go off, and you immediately have to run into a bomb shelter and a safe space. And so, again, this is something very serious for your listeners to be praying about, not only for the Israeli people 100%, but also for those who are serving on our Friends of Israel Origins team.
And making efforts to get them out of the country?
Yeah, our goal is to get them out through Jordan. Jordan has an opening, but with the potential for the U.S. to get involved in this operation, I believe ultimately to get a bunker buster bomb into Fordo, which is kind of the last holdout for the enrichment program that Israel's trying to undo. There's a lot of questions as to whether or not the U.S. will get involved or not, as you had mentioned in your opening. And so the question is, how quickly can we get these individuals out, our staff out, our team out? Because Mike Huckabee put out a statement on X that the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem is trying to provide and help Americans who want to get out of Israel get out right now through various means. So we're praying that we can use as many resources as possible to get our team home safely.
Chris, how badly has Iran's top leadership been impacted by Operation Rising Lion?
Absolutely demolished, Jim, absolutely demolished. The Ayatollah Khamenei is completely alone right now. He is actually been isolated underground, according to the sources that I've been reading. He's isolated underground. He's even kind of relinquished a lot of his control to some of his top advisors in the IRGC. I think he's just held out with his family, knowing that at any moment his life could end. And so the top layer of leadership continues to be wiped out. If I were tapped on the shoulder right now and said, "You're in charge now," I say, "No, thanks. I don't want that job," because Israel has been on the warpath, if you will, not to target Iranians, but to target key IRGC, that's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard leadership, the scientists that oversee the development of these nuclear weapons, and the strategic enrichment locations along the way. The question that a lot of people have right now is whether or not regime change for the Iranians is in the air, and if that's a goal for the Netanyahu administration right now. Is it simply to undo their nuclear ambition, or is it to push 1 inch further and to do a complete unraveling of the Ayatollahs and their regime? Because really, the Ayatollahs are their entire system that they've had set in place, which is Hamas, and I hope that we talk about this in a moment too, Jim. Hamas, Hezbollah, yes, and the land bridge that they had with Syria.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years, and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Regime have all demolished, have all fallen apart, and then they've been isolated, and the only thing they had left was their nuclear ambition. Their nuclear ambition to give fear to the rest of the Middle East and the rest of the world, and now that's coming undone. So the regime was tied to their proxies, the regime was tied to their nuclear ambitions. Without that, you don't have a regime anymore.
Yeah, I find it interesting that the top military being taken out, and even some of the replacements have been taken out. One individual who was the chief of the Islamic Republic of Iran's armed forces had only been in the position a few days. He replaced somebody else who had just been taken out by Israel, then he was taken out. I also see that Iran's propaganda media was hit live while on the air in the midst of a rant.
That's right, and I was watching the video, and if the subtitles are true, the woman that was doing the newscast, spewing the propaganda, was saying, "Those bombs will never hit us. Those bombs will never hit us." That's what she was saying on the air, and then boom, a bomb hit. And within a few moments, she was in a different studio once again, spewing out her propaganda.
Nice.
So that the regime, the Ayatollahs rely heavily on propaganda, and even the propaganda machine is falling down around them as well.
We're going to take a quick break. Chris Katulka is with us today, Vice President of North American Ministries at the Friends of Israel Gospel Ministry. Friends, we've got so much more information to unfold. Stay with us. You're listening to Crosstalk on the VCY American Network.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist and president of the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, in an evolutionary sense, what do the terms advanced and primitive mean?
Chris, primitive animals are thought to be those that evolved long ago, which gave rise to more and more advanced types. Single-cell organisms are the most primitive, and then marine invertebrates, and up to fish, amphibians, mammals, and eventually man, the most advanced of all. Within each mammal type, evolutionists say that the more advanced ones are the ones that are modern, but extinct varieties were hardly primitive. Chris, the whole concept of primitive advances an evolutionary idea which is wrong on the face of it. Evolution did not happen. God created each basic category, much as we see it today. None is more advanced than the other. Each is complex. And that's the way I see it from a back to Genesis perspective.
Visit our website at icr.org. I'm Chris O'Brien. Thanks for tuning in.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America. Today, day number 6 in Operation Rising Lion. Joining us today, Chris Katulka, Vice President of North American Ministries at the Friends of Israel Gospel Ministry. And Chris, if there's ever a time to show support for Israel, it's now, and certainly to be reading and staying informed. And you've got tools and resources to help people just do that, including a magazine and including some I Love Israel stickers. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so first I want to share about our magazine. You know, there's a great resource, especially as you're looking at what's going on in the world prophetically, as we're seeing rising lions take place right before our very eyes as Israel is attacking Iran and Iran is attacking Israel. This is something that should raise your awareness about what the prophetic scriptures teach. And so we want to provide you a free resource called Israel, My Glory. This is not a brand new publication. It's been around since 1942, teaching about Israel and the Jewish people from a biblical perspective, a prophetic perspective. It's a trustworthy magazine. It's an award-winning magazine as well. And I want your listeners to get a free 1-year subscription, and they can do that by calling 1-800-257-7843. That's a 800-257-7843, or they can go to our website, israelmyglory.org.
Again, friends, just ask for the free 1-year subscription. Mention you heard Chris on Crosstalk. You can reach out to the phone number 1-800-257-7843 for a 1-year subscription to Israel My Glory, or the website, israelmyglory.org. And you also have stickers that people can display as far as being in support of Israel.
That's right. If you want to show other people that you love Israel and the Jewish people and you want to support them, we have 50 free stickers that we want to send you, and you can text at 424-444-1948, like the year that Israel was reestablished, 424-444-1948, or you can just go right to the website, which is gofoi.org/stickers. We'll send you 50 free stickers, and I'm going to tell you something. They start conversations. So if you're going to stick your sticker on your Bible, your notebook, on your water bottle, on your cell phone, whatever you're going to stick it on, just get ready, because people have been telling us when they use these stickers, it always opens up conversations to talk about Israel, but even more importantly, to talk about Jesus, the Messiah.
Indeed, and I'm looking at the website right now, gofoi.org/stickers. There's examples of those. Israel forever. God bless Israel. I love Israel with a heart there for that. And then also the Israeli flag in the shape of a heart. And again, 50 free stickers. You can text 424-444-1948 or go to the website gofoi.org/stickers. /stickers. Chris, while Israel has gone after the strategic targets we've talked about, the international spokesman for the Israeli police has said that Iran has deliberately been targeting civilians. Israel suffered casualties there.
Yeah. So it's a great dichotomy to show you the way that Israelis think about life and the way that the Iranian regime, not Iranians, but the Iranian regime, the Ayatollahs, think about life. And it even comes across in the mantras, and I want to talk about those mantras in a moment. But this individual is exactly right when he mentions the fact that Iran's only way of getting through Israel's anti-ballistic missile systems, that's the Iron Dome, the THAAD, the David Sling, getting through these systems, the only way to do it is to flood the skies of Israel with ballistic missiles. Sending over 10 at a time, that's not a problem. Sending over 50, 60 at a time puts a little stress on it. But when you're sending over hundreds at a time of ballistic missiles, it floods the system, and they know if they do that, one will get through, two will get through. As we've been seeing, more than 30 of Israelis have died. The point that people need to know is that if there was no Iron Dome or THAAD or David Sling, there would be millions of Israelis that are dead right now with the number of ballistic missiles that have been launched to Haifa, to Tel Aviv, and to Jerusalem. And so it is absolutely imperative that we continue as America to invest in the defense systems of Israel, because now America is going to be using the exact same things. President Trump has been talking about the Golden Dome, which is the system that we want to use in the United States to protect us, our anti-ballistic missile systems as well, is the same thing that Israel's been doing. That's a lot of American technology and American tax dollars at work to help Israel protect itself from the barrage of missiles that are coming over. But you had mentioned the fact that they're targeting innocent Israelis, and that's exactly right. If you notice, when Israel is in Iran, they're not targeting innocent Iranians. They're going specifically after key leadership and locations that are associated with the development of a nuclear weapon and the enrichment of uranium. That's all that they're doing. There are no innocent Iranians that are being attacked. On the flip side, you have innocent Israelis, men, women, children, the elderly, that are being targeted through these ballistic missiles that are coming over. But Jim, I want you to think about the two mantras of the Middle East. I just wrote an editorial about this. The two mantras that you can hear on both sides of the Middle East. One coming from the eastern side of the Middle East, which is in Iran, which is that cry, and I know that we've talked about this before on your program, where the Iranian leadership, the Ayatollahs, scream out, "Death to Israel." But there's a new mantra that's getting louder and louder and louder. One I've known for a long time. Israelis have said this for a long time. They chant it over and over again. All Israelis know it, and it's Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel live. That statement is a biblical statement, the people of Israel live. So think about this. Iran screams death to Israel, and the Israelis, as it gets louder and louder in the Middle East, are screaming, the people of Israel live. Just think about the differences between those two mantras. In fact, the Am Yisrael Chai, that Hebrew for the people of Israel live, was first heard when a Jewish chaplain from England went into Bergen-Belsen, which was a concentration camp of the Germans, after the Holocaust had ended, and he saw the Jewish survivors of the Holocaust. They're emaciated, they're weak, they're just hanging on by a thread, and he sees them, and what does he cry out as he sees these beleaguered Jewish Holocaust survivors? He says, Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel live. So they're screaming this statement over and over again, Am Yisrael Chai. I believe it's going, Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel live. I believe it's going to drown out the mantra of Iran, which is death to Israel. And we're seeing that over and over again.
Chris, President Trump left the G7 early in Canada. He's got some very heavy decision-making to do. He's getting mixed responses from his advisors. What is he weighing at this time?
The question is, I think the Trump agenda has been not to get involved in wars, to not get involved in in wars that are not the wars of the United States. And I think the thing that Trump is weighing is that he also said, on the flip side of the coin, Trump has also said publicly, I think I saw a 16-minute video of him saying this over and over and over again from various rallies that he's done, is that there is no way that Iran can get a nuclear weapon. So he has to weigh, is this just a job that we're going to give Israel to take care of the nuclear ambitions of Iran, or are we going to help Israel in this endeavor as well? Israel has already paved the way for America to come in with a B-52 and to knock out Fordo and then get out. Israel has paved the way. What Israel has done, more than 1,100 operations in Iran in the last 6 days, people will be writing about this in war journals for decades to come, for centuries to come, what Israel's been able to do in the last few days. Israel controls the skies of Iran right now. Mm-hmm. They control the in and out of Iran. They control every aspect of it from the top down, and the Ayatollahs know this. So really, America is not going to have a constant presence. I think this is the difficulty that Trump has to weigh. The goal is not for America to go in and do regime change and democracy building in Iran. That's not that is definitely something we shouldn't be doing. We should not be getting involved like we did with Iraq and Afghanistan. This would be a one-time moment of making sure that these nuclear sites are completely destroyed and then getting out. The question is, what will be the result of Iran's responding to America's aggression in those areas? And I think it is a difficult thing for Trump to weigh, because if Iran responds by attacking one of our U.S. bases, which of course they've already been doing through the Houthis and other proxies, but if they continue to attack, then it's going to force us into a longer war with Iran, which I know they don't. I know that Trump doesn't want to get involved in right now. So it's a difficult thing to weigh. I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make that decision, but I think Trump has a lot on his plate as to whether or not we want to put our foot in this or watch Israel end it once and for all and help them along the way.
President Trump has called for an unconditional surrender, and as Iran's supreme leader has responded, the battle begins. And Iran has actually warned the United States that if they join in this conflict, it's going to mean an all-out war. And I'm sure that's on his mind. And I'm also wondering, Chris, does Iran have do they have sleeper cells here in the United States where havoc can be caused as well?
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This is the big question, whether or not we don't know who's come across the border in the last 4 years during the Biden administration. The border's closed now, but for 4 years it wasn't. We don't know exactly who is here. We don't know exactly who they're speaking to. I'm sure there is intelligence. There's that component. But there's also the component of, like you said, the proxies that are in the Middle East as well, and what are they doing, and what kind of conversations do they have with the Ayatollahs? But really, Jim, we had mentioned earlier the propaganda machine. I believe that the Ayatollah Khomeini is on his last breath. I don't think they have much left. If you've noticed in their ballistic missiles attacks toward Israel, the very first night was full of more than, I believe, 100 to 150 ballistic missiles that were launched over. And then it went down to 75, and then it went down to 30. It continued to shrink. Why? Because as Israel continues its operations in Iran, it's also targeting those ballistic missile launchers, ballistic missile sites, taking out the IRGC's jets, the Iranian Army's jets, that could respond. Really, I don't know. Tehran is emptying out. The streets are flooded. People are leaving Tehran. I don't know who would fight for the Ayatollahs right now. I don't know what military they're talking about. I could be completely wrong, but at the same time, I'm seeing just a lot of hot air. The Persians are very good at talking, but not doing. And so the question is whether or not he's just giving us a lot of hot air, or is there really something waiting in the wings? And I think that's something Trump has to weigh.
He is weighing it, no doubt. And friends, we're just seconds from a break. And when we come back from the break, I want to read for you a message that was sent from Mike Huckabee to President Trump. President Trump posted it out on his social media site. Very, very revealing, but it's got an important message I want you to hear. By the way, we're talking with Chris Katulka today from the Friends of Israel Gospel Ministry. They publish a magazine, Israel, My Glory. If you'd like a free one-year subscription, you can reach out to them by phone at 1-800-257-7843 and just ask for that one-year subscription. They also have those stickers that are available, the I Love Israel stickers. You can just send a text to 424-444-1948 or go to the website gofoi.org/stickers. They'll send you 50 of those in the mail. We'll be back in 1 minute. You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America.
Have you ever had someone attempt to talk to you about the Watchtower Society or the Book of Mormon? Or perhaps a friend has told you that they've started yoga and invited you to participate. You know you heard something about these religions and teachings, but never had the material in your hand to give a biblical response to their teachings. Now you can. Two world-renowned researchers, Dr. Ron Carlson and Ed Decker, teamed up to write Fast Facts on False Teachings, an easy-to-use resource guide that gives you quick, clear facts about several cults and false teachings. You'll find chapters on atheism, Freemasonry, Hinduism and yoga, Islam, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormonism, and much more. Fast Facts on False Teachings is available for a donation of $18 or more when you call VCY America, 1-800-729-9829. That's 1-800-729-9829.
You're listening to Crosstalk on the VCY American Network. Chris Katulka is with us today. He is Vice President of North American Ministries at the Friends of Israel Gospel Ministry. We're talking about Operation Rising Lion right now on day number 6. There was a message that Mike Huckabee sent to President Trump. Mike Huckabee is the U.S. ambassador to Israel, and sent this out to him, and President Trump posted it saying, from Mike Huckabee, a pastor, politician, ambassador, and great person. Here's what it says. Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice, that's all in caps, one voice that matters, his voice. I am your appointed servant in this land and am available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been in a position like yours, not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to persuade you, only to encourage you. I believe you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes, ears, and voice, and to make sure our flag flies above our embassy. My job is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment. This moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you, Mike Huckabee. Chris, your response to this?
You know, it couldn't be any more beautiful words said, and really, President Trump shows great leadership in the person that he appointed for that position. The last non-Jewish ambassador to Israel was actually not the greatest supporter of Israel, which is really funny. Somebody who kind of transitioned between the Bush administration and the Obama administration. He was not Jewish, and he wasn't the biggest fan of Israel, and really pushed a two-state solution as much as possible. But now we have an evangelical Christian who loves Israel and the Jewish people, and really sees the value of President Trump's leadership in this moment. You know, I think, again, I'm only hitting a talking point that President Trump says all the time, but I think it's a true talking point. It's nothing to just simply glance over. We wouldn't be in this situation if President Biden wasn't the president in the last 4 years. every time we try to give money to Iranians, it only ends up backfiring on Israel, the Middle East, and the United States. Again, we mentioned earlier in the program, that's what happened during the Iran deal. We released funds to them, and look what ends up happening. And then just recently, during the midway through the Biden administration, we released funds, and then October 7th happens. Again, it takes real decisive leadership. Trump could have pushed that red line back after 60 days, but no, he gave the go-ahead. Netanyahu and Trump working together get the go-ahead for Netanyahu to strategically take out these key sites. So I also appreciate the divine and godly position that Mike Huckabee has. Most politicians would never once utter the name of God, would never once look to the scriptures or look up to heaven and ask for wisdom. But here is a man that knows the place that he's been given as the ambassador to Israel, which is just absolutely amazing as an evangelical Christian, and even more importantly, knowing no matter what we do, all the wisdom has to come from the God of wisdom, from above. And so him driving Trump looking up is incredibly important during these difficult times. So I always appreciate what Ambassador Huckabee has to say.
Really, he's in that position for such a time as this. I can't help but mention the Freedom from Religion Foundation is outraged at what he sent to the president. He said they wrote, "It's a profoundly irresponsible and theocratic appeal from someone tasked with representing U.S. interests abroad. Mike Huckabee is not a diplomat. He's an end-times fanatic who views international affairs through the lens of biblical prophecy, not national security or human rights." Interesting comment there. Chris, let me ask you about internally in Iran. Are the citizens there? Do you anticipate a massive interior revolt to take place?
That's what we're all hoping for, is that Iranians seize the opportunity to see a regime change. They're actually, I'm sure that you've probably reported on this in the past, but in the U.S., the last Shah of Iran's son has been exiled here in the U.S. His name's Reza Pahlavi, and he is actually got a 100-day plan and strategy to go back to Iran after the Ayatollah falls and the mullahs fall. To go in and to implement a 100-day strategy to build a democracy in Iran.
Wow,
so, it's interesting listening to someone like Emmanuel Macron, who's the president of France, urging from the G7 after Trump left, saying we really shouldn't hope for a regime change. It only leads to chaos. I think it's interesting that this is where the West has come, that Western democracies are urging people not to go into a revolution for their freedom, but to just stay under the hand of Islamic radical ayatollahs that have kept them under oppression for so long, almost forgetting about their own French Revolution, which provided freedom. Here's a president of the French people saying we shouldn't really rush a revolution for the Iranian people when we actually have somebody in America who is Iranian, speaks Persian, has a history, and is saying, I am ready to bring democracy and freedom with a 100-day plan, a 100-day strategy to Iran. You can only hope that would happen, not for the sake of the Ayatollahs, but for the sake of the Iranian people. I've also heard that right now the two most influential religions on the rise in Iran are Zoroastrianism, which is the ancient religion of the Persians, and then also Christianity. So even the fact that Islam is losing its footing as Christianity rises as well.
Chris, I got 3 issues. We're 6 minutes. Here we go.
Yeah, sorry.
Here's number 1. We understand Israel has launched an Operation Safe Return initiative to rescue some of the 150,000 citizens stranded abroad, people who want to get back to Israel, correct?
That's correct. I don't want to say that every single Israeli wants to come home right now, but there are Israelis who want to go home. They want to be with their families. They were on a plane from San Francisco to Tel Aviv, and what ends up happening, it gets turned around 5 hours later and has to return to San Francisco because of the preemptive strike and shutting down Ben Gurion Airport. So Israelis are stuck all around the world, and Israel's doing everything it possibly can to bring them home to their families and back to their country. And so you can see the heart for the Israeli people to want to come home.
And while all of this is going on, what, if anything, is going on with a deal with Hamas? I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, before this broke out, Steve Witkoff had this new proposal, the release of 10 living Israeli hostages held in Gaza, return of the bodies of 18 deceased, a 60-day ceasefire. Is any kind of deal pending with Hamas, or is everything off the table at this point?
I haven't heard anything, but I'm confident that the leadership of Hamas right now is thankful that they're not the center of attention for the Israeli people and for the Israeli government. I'm sure they're taking this opportunity to rethink and re-strategize how they're going to approach Israel, but also at the same time, their host that supplies them their funds and their resources and their purpose as Hamas has been completely cut off and is dying as well. And so I'm sure there's a lot of rethinking going on from the leadership of Hamas and how they're going to relate with Israel, and ultimately the position it puts them in. As Iran is getting isolated, Hamas has been extremely isolated, along with Hezbollah as well.
Is Israel starving Gazans?
No, they're not starving Gazans. They're doing the best that they possibly can to make sure Gazans get food. And we're not talking about Hamas, we're talking about Palestinians. That's the reason why, through the U.S. and Israel, they established these distribution sites, not with the UN, but with U.S. Providing the distribution and with Israel providing the protection. Of course, Hamas wants to stir up chaos. Look, when Hamas tells you, we would prefer to have the UN distribute food, let me tell you what that means. The UN is working alongside Hamas, and Hamas is able to steal whatever aid comes in. This is preventing Hamas from getting the aid that they want to steal from their people, leaving them starving, while they're able to take it from the taxpayers of the U.S. and the EU. And so ultimately, it's a fantastic thing that the U.S. and Israel are doing. It should continue to happen, and they're not starving Palestinians.
Friends, if you want to start getting on board with your questions today, our number is 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. Your questions for Chris Katulka or a brief comment, 800-733-9829. Chris, we're seeing so much unfold in such a short period of time. Give us the prophetic angle. What are the prophetic implications of what's taking place with Iran right now? What's taking place even with Hamas? We didn't get into Hezbollah and other matters as well. The Judea, Samaria, that's been another front that they've had to be concerned about. What is the prophetic implications of what we see unfolding right now?
The area we want to focus on are Ezekiel 37, 38, and 39, the prophet Ezekiel, who gave a vision that the dry bones that were dead would come back to life and resurrect, and God gives an answer to this prophecy. He says, a son of man, Ezekiel, these bones that have come back together and formed this man, this is an army of people, and what is this army? It's the nation of Israel. He gives an answer to the prophecy. So we know that Ezekiel 37 is the regathering of the people, the Jewish people, back to their ancient homeland, Israel. That's Ezekiel chapter 37. And we're seeing that happen before our very eyes. I believe Ezekiel 37 is a reality that we're seeing, even to this very day. It's not a one-time thing, 1948. It's an ongoing process of Jewish people migrating, moving back to their ancient homeland according to the promises that God made to Abraham. But then he flipped the chapter to 38 and 39, and now all of a sudden Israel's in a regional battle with the surrounding nations like Russia, like Iran, and others that are around as well. Here's the question, though. Is this the battle of Gog and Magog? Now, I have some issues with it being the battle, and here's the reason why. Number one, in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, Israel is attacked by Iran, not the other way around. Israel did a preemptive strike against Iran. That's not recorded in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. I also want to mention that the prophet also gives the idea that Israel is dwelling safely. Well, Israel's not been dwelling safely for a long time. They've been under attack since October 7th with Hamas and Hezbollah. They've been at war. So there's that issue as well from Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. And as well in Ezekiel 38 and 39, other countries are involved in this attack as well. What's interesting is we live in a kind of a time period where Israel's kind of at heavy odds with Iran and its proxies and certain other countries, but has made peace with many other countries like the UAE and Bahrain, and they have a peace deal with Egypt and Jordan. So the question is whether or not, this is the battle of Gog and Magog. I don't think it's the battle quite yet, But I do think that God is shaping the Middle East in a way where we see Israel constantly under pressure, and at any moment things can change. So this is kind of where we are prophetically. I think Ezekiel 37 is very important to kick off the events that would take place of the Battle of Gog and Magog with Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39.
Friends, we're just seconds from a break. We're going to take the break and come right back to your phone calls. I do want to mention two things. Number one, if you're within driving distance of Milwaukee, reserve Saturday, September 20th on your calendar. That's the day Chris is going to be coming to Milwaukee, speaking at a VCY rally. Looking forward. There'll be no doubt much information happening between now and then. Chris speaking that evening at the rally. Information on our website, vcy.org. Click on the rally tab there. Also, they have just produced at Friends of Israel Gospel Ministry, Eye in the Middle East, Israel at War, a TV special. We are airing it tonight, Wednesday, June 18th, 9:30 p.m., Central Time. Thursday, the 19th, 7:30 a.m. and 6:30 p.m., Saturday and early overnight airing at 4 a.m. It's available over the air on Channel 30, but we also have it on Roku, Amazon Fire, X, Rumble, Apple TV, and VCY.TV. We hope you can catch that special even this evening. Back in 1 minute here on Crosstalk on VCY America.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. Our reporter, Annie Cyrus, who was born and raised in Iran, now lives in the U.S., is reporting something she saw as she monitors Iranian television. Shortly after Israel hit one of the state TV studios in Iran, all of a sudden the phrase Islamic Republic quietly disappeared from the crawler on the bottom of the screen. In its place was Armed Forces Iran and Iran's broadcast. The words Islamic Republic simply vanished, but the double spaces remained. In other words, they're not announcing it, they're not admitting it, but they apparently are erasing it live and in plain sight. Does Israel and the freedom fighters in Iran now have control of that state TV department? We'll keep you posted as the Middle East is shaking up and the stage is set for Bible prophecy. I'm Brandon House.
This is Crosstalk on VCY America. Don't forget, if you'd like that Israel My Glory magazine, just takes a phone call for a 1-year free subscription at 800-257-7843. For the stickers, go foi.org/stickers or text 424-444-1948. We have got packed phone lines. We're going to begin with Adam calling in from New York and New Michelle, New York. Adam, you're on the air.
Turn it down. Yes, I have a question for your host. Your guest there, Chris, he stated that there wasn't any type of internally mass starvation of the Palestinians. We have reported incidents, including one recent one, which was yesterday, when 59 people were shot, killed, and over 200 wounded near the intersection of a town called Khan Yunis, where they were going for a flour truck in the city. And this was a targeted incident, actually. They knew that these people were individual citizens that have no affiliation with any terrorist organization. And it's not just the only time. And the Israeli military is stating that they're investigating it. But you know as well as I that these investigations are pretty much biased. And even if you flip-flopped and said it was all Palestinians that that was shooting against Israeli soldiers, and it's going to be investigated by the Palestinians themselves. I mean,
we got it, Adam. Because of time, I'm going to have Chris comment. You've said a lot there, Chris. What about Israel targeting Palestinians?
Two things. Palestinians are not starving. They are receiving aid. That's one thing. So there's that. The other side is the question. Number one, this came up earlier in a few months ago, weeks ago, I should say, when the U.S. and Israel decided to create the new system for distribution of food, where Hamas did send out propaganda that said that there were several that were killed and that Israel instigated targeting people in the distribution of food, which was just not true. It was actually Hamas propaganda. Israel is not going in and targeting innocent Palestinians. So before you get the news from mass media, or you listen to mass media, or mainstream media, which usually just highlights Hamas talking points, which is very interesting to me, You should just wait for the information to come out, because the reality is that Hamas does create a lot of the chaos that you see around those areas. They're not going to just let the distribution of food happen without any problem. Their resources are being cut off when the United Nations can't be the one to distribute the food. So I don't believe that the Palestinians at all are being targeted by Israelis. That's not the goal of Israel. I know that specifically. The goal is to distribute food to Palestinians, not to give it back to the terrorists, to keep it from their own people.
Thank you for the call. We're going on to the next. Holly in Northport, Florida. You're on the air.
Yes, thank you for taking my call for your program. I just feel like I'm really disappointed in Donald Trump. I don't hold a lot of stake in him, but I thought he's been good all in all, that we need someone like him. But I feel like he's been wishy-washy on supporting Israel. He needs to make a decision on who he's going to follow and who he's going to stand by, but he listens to advice. He's never had an interest to appease people before. So I don't understand. The Bible tells us to count the cost. Well, he needs to count the cost of not getting involved just as well as getting involved in military procedures with Israel.
Okay. Thank you, Holly. Your response here, Chris.
Yeah, again, Holly, I don't want to be in the president's position to make this decision. I think that he has a difficult one to make as to whether or not the U.S. is going to get involved. I believe that the Trump administration has been much more supportive of Israel in the last several months since he took office than the prior administration, which often would tie Israel's hands behind its back and then say fight a war with a proxy of Iran, and constantly criticize them for the way that they were enacting their targeted attacks against Hamas. And then in the meantime, as they were criticizing them, now you come back to Trump, and Trump has given kind of a green light for Israel to end this war in Gaza, and really has not criticized Israel in the process. So again, I understand kind of the wishy-washy feeling that you might have. I think he's been pretty consistent with Israel. The question is whether or not he's going to engage the U.S. in this conflict with Iran.
Let's get to Mark in Monroe, Wisconsin. Mark, you're on the air.
Yeah, it sounded to me like Netanyahu had Khomeini targeted to take him out, but he didn't because Trump persuaded him not to. My question is do you think Netanyahu is independent of Trump enough so that he's already in this war, technically Trump isn't. Is he independent enough to take the initiative to do things that even if Trump preferred that he didn't do it, that he would do it nonetheless?
Thank you, Mark. Chris?
I think if it came down to Israel's existential, their existence, then yes, I do. I also think that Israel, no matter what administration you have there, whether it's the Netanyahu through Likud party or it be Yair Lapid with opposition party, whoever it is going to look to the U.S. because that is where a lot of countries look to the U.S. as to whether or not this is a good idea or a bad idea to make in going to war. So do I think that Netanyahu is solely the puppet of Trump? No, I don't. I think he has his own agenda. I think he has to make sure he keeps great relationships with the United States of America, and we saw that even at the transition of the Trump administration when Trump left his first term and Biden came in. Trump got very angry at Netanyahu for the way that he congratulated Biden for winning the election. So again, I don't think Netanyahu is simply a Trump puppet. I do think, though, that you want to make sure before you go to war with a country, especially with nuclear weapons over it, that you have the support of one of your big backers in the West, which is the United States.
Let me try and squeeze in Todd in Michigan. Todd, you're on the air.
Yes. Where can I buy some stock in Asher Oil Company? I want to buy it for my grandkids because they will really be blessed, and I'll take my answer off the phone.
Yeah, we're not dealing with that issue here today. Let me, Chris, 30 seconds. What would you like to leave with the listeners?
Just continue to pray for Israel and the Jewish people, and pray for the Iranians, and pray for those innocent Palestinians as well. There's a lot of people that are caught in the crossfire of radical Islamists that are doing their sole goal is to destroy Israel and the Jewish people. And honestly, I believe there is a lot of innocent life in Gaza, innocent life in southern Lebanon, innocent life in Iran, and in Israel that are constantly under the threat of because of radical Islam wanting to push the Jewish people out of the Jewish state.
Chris Katulka from Friends of Israel, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
And friends, you reach out if you'd like that complimentary one-year subscription. Israel My Glory magazine, 800-257-7843. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208, or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.